Here's a song I haven't listened to in a bit. I got to get myself up to a game. That is a Syracuse fight song, and that is in honor of the guy that we're bringing on right now. He's going to reminisce with us a little bit and have some fun. It is your head coach, or at least he used to be. I still call him the head coach of the Syracuse Orange. Let's welcome in Jim Boeheim. Hey, Coach, how are you?
Well, my paycheck doesn't look like that. So
darn.
I don't know if we can go that way.
I think your bank account's okay, though. I think you're okay in that thing. I'm not worried about you anytime soon.
No, I'm not worried. I'm not worried either.
Coach, I want to start with an apology. Here's a little timeline for you about my history as I hang up my microphone, essentially, on this wonderful world of sports talk radio in the radio world. So way back in the day, Adam Shine, I know you know Adam very well, recommended me for the program director job at Sports Radio 620, a job that I eventually accepted. All right, so I leave Channel 9 working with Doug Logan, and I come over to the radio station where I become a manager, a boss, you could call it, right? And then I recruit Bud from the newspaper world to do a radio show with me, which he sticks with for 16 plus years. And months after I recruit Bud, I hire Brent Axe, who becomes our partner in Afternoon Drive. So I apologize, Coach, for all of that. I don't know how you feel about me knowing that I'm the guy that did all that stuff, so on and so forth.
Not at all. First of all, I got along well with Bud for many, many years. And, Brent Axe just has people on his show that say outrageous things, and you kind of get tainted by that. If you have a guy on your show that says Jim Boeheim didn't recruit this guy when I did, or didn't do this when I did, you're kind of he's on your show and you're not disputing his claims. It leads to somebody not feeling good about stuff,
Sure. Right.
And really, in reality is, I actually happened to be in the car. I heard Bud yesterday. When he came here, he said he thought we'd play golf together and stuff. It just doesn't work that way. When you cover somebody, whether you're an art columnist or a day-to-day like Donna, Mike Waters, Donna DeToda, you're going to write a lot of good things, but you're going to write some things that are, I'm not going to like or not going to agree with, or that I think aren't accurate. And when that happens, there's going to be a divide there. You're not going to, if it's just Boeheim isn't coaching very good this year, that's fine.
Uh-huh.
If it's, he shouldn't be playing this guy who's our best player, or he should be playing this guy more who in practice doesn't work hard, doesn't do what he's supposed to do. So you're limited as to how much you can play him.
Uh-huh.
So those are the things you might get upset about. Everybody always brings up, my memory's getting blank here. Really, Kadari. They always bring up Kadari.
Kadari Richmond.
Oh, yeah, Kadari Richmond, yes.
Who struggled here because he didn't practice much. He was hurt a lot and wasn't in shape. He got tired, and he played about 18, 19 minutes, which was and he was good, but that's what he could play. And in fact, when he went the next year to Seton Hall, he played about 20 minutes there. It took him 2 or 3 years to get where he could really play the whole game, and he was a really good player who still, actually he shot better here than he did at St. John's. He struggled shooting the ball. If he could shoot the basketball, he'd be a first-round draft pick without any question. I think a high first round. But it was a case where everybody wants him to play and saying outrageous things, and Joe shouldn't play, and all this stuff. And that is what upsets you as a coach, because he couldn't play.
Right.
He asked him the game. He was tired. It took a couple of years where he got in that kind of position. So those kind of things, as a coach, you're just not going to be happy about people saying that or writing that. And so that's part of the. Yeah, there's going to be a give and take between a coach and somebody who covers him every day, because you're just not going to always be on the same page or not agree with something that's written. You can write something great for 100 days, but if something off, it's going to upset a coach. That's just the way it works. It doesn't. I may show that I'm very upset. I may not really be that upset.
Right.
But I react to things rather than just let them go. Dave Gavitt once advised me he never listened to talk shows, never read the paper, so he never had a comment. I never was able to do that. I always kind of wanted to know what was being said.
Right.
And Dave Gavitt's way is much better, but I wasn't built that way. So there's always going to be, but 99% of the stuff, well, he covered a lot of stuff. He liked other things besides just major sports. He covered all kinds of things. But by and large, what he wrote over the years was fine. There's a couple things. We just disagree on certain things. And, for example, he thinks athletes don't give back or, they're all selfish. And it's far from the case. It's most athletes and most coaches I know have charities, have foundations, and give back a ton of stuff. Maybe 30 years ago that didn't happen, but all the players that I knew on the Olympic team, all the great players, they all have foundations, they all have charities, they give millions of dollars back, and so do the coaches I know. Mike Krzyzewski's raised $50, $100 million for Duke in terms of their medical school. So most people do give back in coaching and in players. Obviously, some don't. Some misbehave, just like in all walks of life. But for the most part, Bud was good. He wrote some really good stuff, and I just disagree with certain ways he looks at athletes and coaches.
Fair enough. And he's never really been, well, he's been one amateur-wise, but he's never really been an athlete.
Right,
I used to talk to him about that. So is it true what he said? He said on the show yesterday, in the beginning you and Jake ignored him, right? Then you kind of accepted him, and by the end you respected and actually kind of liked him. So is that progression true or false? It's all right, just the true or false questions here.
No, I never ignored any writer. I mean, if he asked me a question the first day, I answered it.
Okay.
I didn't go play golf with him like he suggested or something. I would never do that with somebody that covers us. It's just not the way it works for me.
Right.
I mean, you have your jobs to do, and I have my jobs to do. But I've never not answered a question from anybody, whether it's you, Brent Axe, whoever, Bud. I give them the answer as best I can. I've opened the locker room to everybody, and most coaches don't do that. I want the players to have the ability to learn how to handle themselves, and also for the media to have access to the players. And that's what we tried to do. We did it more than I think anybody did. We had people come to practice until they started writing about what happened in practice, and you can't really do that because then stuff happens in practice that, players get. I mean, I got in a fight when I was in practice when I was a player. It's just, you don't, that happens. The public might not understand that happens.
Can I just jump in on this point, Coach? I want to say this, and I'm not throwing rose petals at your feet just because you're on the show with us today. I really enjoyed covering you as a member of the media, and I think the things that I loved is, number one, that you were just always open to engagement. You could disagree and you could get angry. I had some spats with you. I was like, oh boy, what did I do? But the fact of the matter is that I always felt like you never held a grudge. You always were this. The next time I saw you, we're fine. I always felt you just got stuff off your chest when you needed to, and I kind of respected that. And people that run into me say, "Oh, you covered Boeheim. Oh, that must have been so hard." I was like, "No, he's the best guy I've ever covered. I love covering Jim Boeheim. He's honest. I think he gives me so much that I don't ever get from anybody else." Do you recognize or realize that, or what is that all about? Could you even explain it?
I tried to just tell him every game what happened. Honestly, straightforward questions, and I probably overreacted to a couple questions in my career, more than a couple, 5 times, probably 5-10 times. But you got to remember, I did probably about 5,000 press conferences or more, and there's probably 10 of them I said, like, what are you talking about? Or that's
Maybe
a dumb
15 or 20,
question.
but yes, okay. Well,
Maybe 15 or 20. I'll go that high.
all right,
But,
I like that.
When you lose a game by a point on a half-court or long shot or something, you go in there 2 minutes later, you're not happy. You're not in a good mood. It's, you're upset. And if somebody gets some edgy type question, you're going to probably I'm going to react to it. Lou Conosecchi used to just make a joke about it, but I was never able to do that. But I tried to, be straightforward and give the answers. And I like press conference. There's a lot of myths about Jim Boeheim that I didn't like the press or didn't like press. I didn't. Not at all. It's not true at all. I like to get my point out there. That's what a press conference does. Some of it was jokingly around, hitting the microphone, stuff like that.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But, people like to watch my press conference, so they must have been good for something anyway.
You're an entertainer, man. It's okay.
Yeah.
There's myths. There's a myth that Jim Boeheim can do anything he wants up there. He has the power to do it.
Uh-huh.
I had no power ever. I never had a say in who was going to be the athletic director or football coach or who was going to do anything at the university. That we're going to play in the dome. That wasn't my call. We're going to build this building. None of that. I had no ability to do any of that. People even think I could get people fired. That's the farthest thing from the truth. I had none of that power and never wanted any of that power. All I wanted the power to do was hire coaches, my coaches, and coach my players. That's it. And nobody ever interfered in any of that, ever. I never had an AD tell me once, well, what's this? Why are you doing that? Not once in 47 years. Jake Krauthammer was my AD for a long time. He loved football. He just tolerated basketball. So I think sometimes he wasn't sure we won a game some nights,
Okay.
But he was a great AD for me.
Yes.
Stayed out of your hair.
He
Right?
let me run the program.
Yeah.
The other myth is that Syracuse University makes a lot of money. We make no money up there. We lose money every year in athletics. We fundraise to supplement it. And that's why the NIL is difficult for us.
Right.
We never had money. Southern schools have always had money.
Yeah.
To build facilities. They built, we spent $100 million on facilities in football. They spent $800 million on facilities in football. So they're always used to doing that. So when it came to raise money for NIL, 10, 20 million, that's nothing. That's like 4 guys at some schools can give that amount of money. We don't have that here. We have people giving $50,000, $100,000. Do you know how long it takes to get to $20 million when you raise $50,000 from people at a time?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah,
right.
do
You're
the-
right.
do the
That's
math.
a lot of people,
Do
right?
the math.
That's
a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
And I remember once a long time ago when, before NIL, people used to call in and say, well, Syracuse should spend more money on sports. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yep.
Pay more money, get more. Well, now it's the public can spend money on Syracuse sports.
Correct.
Yeah, right.
Good. Put your money in.
Yeah,
you want
right.
to spend more money? Help us.
Yeah.
And, nobody's doing, especially the people that call them radio shows are not doing that.
Yeah, right. They
Well,
just complain. They just complain.
That's it. Yeah, a lot of that going on. Again,
and that's part of what calling radio is. It's I checked at one point, and there were 30 people or 40 people who were the people calling in, and some of them had 4 or 5 different names that they could call in under.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you base that against, well, we have 18,000 season ticket holders.
Yeah.
If 20 people are calling in, it's not bad. It's not bad, And the one thing I found in recruiting, in retirement, it surprised me a little bit, not as much. Mm-hmm. People just love Syracuse basketball.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What happened here for a long time, and I'm proud of that. But it's the players and the coaches that did that, and I was a part of that. But people loved that, and everywhere I go, that's all that I get. And I'm sure some people didn't. Yeah, that's true of everything.
Coach, I think for people out of town, the Syracuse basketball name, and I'm going to specifically say basketball. I know we've had a legendary football history with Jim Brown and the 44 and all that, but it's Syracuse basketball that people know the city of Syracuse. That's how they know that name. That's why they might even know that it's in New York State. I really do. I think that basketball program and what you built over those years put us on the map in a lot of ways.
Well, it was good. We had a great run, and we were on TV a lot. So we caught a lot of good things, and we did it for a long period of time. So, you have a lot of people that develop into fans wherever I go. I was in Montana. People came up to me on the street in Missoula, Montana, talking about Syracuse basketball. It's like, okay. I mean.
They were probably on horses, too, as they walked up to you. They didn't walk up to you. They rode up to you probably in Missoula.
I always tell the story. I went to L.A. before the Big East and everything, and they asked me at a school, what's Syracuse? What is that? What state is that in? And then 2 years later, I went back. The Big East had been formed. Pearl was playing. And I got to the airport in L.A., and the baggage guy said, hey, you're Pearl's coach. And
cool.
It changed overnight, because of the Big East, which Dave Gavitt did, the TV, which was ESPN in the beginning, and we were on it.
Pearl has a place near and dear to your heart, right? Wouldn't you say that?
Well, he's the best. I mean, he was our really first major, top 10 player. And he was a great kid. He's an unbelievable kid. And he's still the most exciting that I've ever seen, along with, there's a few, Calvin Murphy, Curry, guys, better players even, but not many that were as exciting as Pearl Washington was. He's one of those guys, the old saying was, he gets you out of your seat. He just doesn't make, he's just not making great shots and doing things like that great players do. But he gets you up out of your seat because you haven't seen that before, and you might not see it again the way he did things. And he's a special player for Syracuse and Syracuse basketball.
There's no question about it, Coach.
If you went to the Dome and you got to see him play, you came away talking about it and thinking about it for a long time. And not many players can do that.
We're speaking with legendary former Syracuse basketball head coach Jim Boeheim here on the show. And, Coach, one of my favorite battles between you and Bud happened 8 years ago in 2017.
Oh, yes, the streak.
And this was the headline of the column that you took umbrage with, Coach. Syracuse basketball isn't in a 6-week swoon. It's more like a 3-year downward spiral. And Bud happened to pick just after the Tyler Ennis buzzer beater that put you guys at 25-0 start.
Or 25-0, right?
And then pick the 26th game, and then pick the next couple of years.
To statistically make that point.
To statistically make the point that the Orange are 53-39 over that stretch, 21-25.
So what do you remember about that one, Coach?
So, what do you remember about that that day-to-day?
The whole thing about... the Syracuse basketball has been down for 10 years or something. In 2 of those years, we went to the Final Four. 2 other years, we went to the Sweet 16 and the 10. Most programs would be happy with that. Now, during that time period, we averaged 5th or 6th place in the ACC, which is a great league with 15 teams and a lot of really good teams. You'd like to be in 5th or 6th place some years. It would be pretty good.
Yeah.
When the top 4 teams are in the top 15 in the country. So we weren't great. We weren't what we were. The ACC was much harder for us transitioning into in terms of recruiting and other things. But we had averaged over those 10 years about a 6th place finish in a 15-team league, which routinely got 8, 9, 10 teams in the tournament. So, and in the tournament, we won. I wanted to win both regular season and tournament. Don't make that.
Right.
Some people mistake that. But we did well in the tournament, which is still the most important thing. It's more important than the regular season. You want to do well in both. You're only going to do well in, well, you can't get in the tournament unless you do decent. So I would do well in the tournament. I really want to do well in both, but I want to do well in the tournament. And we did that during those 10 years.
Right.
You know, and at the end, we were down, but the last 10 years, we were in the tournament 6 times. So one year we couldn't go because of COVID, and, you know, the other years we didn't go. But overall, it was not what we were, but it was pretty good. You know, it was pretty good in terms of the overall results.
Right.
But when I wanted to do better, absolutely. But, you know, it's just the way it goes sometimes in sports. But overall, the NIL started to hurt 2-3 years ago. You know, I was done. So everybody, the myth is they didn't want me to coach anymore. I didn't want to coach anymore. I was at the end that last year. It just wasn't handled right. We didn't get it out front of it. I was going to retire, but it was like, well, he just got no.
Did you ever consider, Coach? I always wanted to ask you this. Did you ever consider going out with the boys? You know, you had the 2 boys on the team.
Yeah.
I know that wasn't a great season for the team, but did you ever think about that?
Look, you know, the funny thing about that team was the losing team. We played our best offensive basketball in years. We just weren't good enough defensively,
right.
And the league was really good. So it ended up, and Jesse Edwards got hurt, or we would have had a pretty successful season. But anyway, I didn't, because I spent so much time, because it was before NIL and you had to prepare for 4 years. Now you just prepare for 1 year.
Right.
But then I wanted to have a good class. We went out and got 6 guys that were good, you know, top 15 class. And I told them, all of them, that I would coach them. I didn't tell them I'd coach them for 4 years, but I told them I would coach them. And so I felt like I had to coach again. I felt good about coaching. I wanted to coach, but I felt I had to coach them. And after the first year, we did okay. I mean, it was all young guys. They struggled at times, but we did okay. It was for that younger team. But the future was the NIL, and the future was changing your team and all that. And I was not going to do that. And I really felt that I'd coached as long as I could coach. So things didn't work out smoothly until a week or 2 afterwards, but everything worked out very well. I'm very happy with how everything worked out.
Coach, did you ever consider a farewell tour? We've seen that from Coach K at Duke. He did it, you know, announced it beforehand and then went on it.
I didn't want to do that. I never had any interest in doing that. And I wanted to end the season and then announce it then, and we just didn't quite get to the end. So that was a disappointment there. But I never wanted to do that. I just wanted to finish up, and I had more than good things happen for me. 99% of happened was good, and even I understood we weren't not as good as we used to be. In the ACC, it was just different. It's a different environment, different league for us, and I never thought that we were able to get into the top 3 teams. We weren't, and that was disappointing. We were still competitive, but it wasn't as good as I would have liked. And, you know, that's the reality of it. And I've never hidden from that in any way, shape, or form.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, can I rapid fire just ask you a couple more quick ones before I let you go?
Sure.
All right. First of all, real quick, I heard you're going to be involved in Boeheim's Army this year. Just give us the skinny of what that's going to be, and I understand both your sons are going to play on the team. Give us the quick on that.
Well, I've helped them a little bit in trying to get some players, certain players. We've missed on a couple guys that we really wanted to get, but we've got a really good, solid team. I will talk with Coach Al Griffin. Al's going to coach the team. I will talk to him about some personnel things. I'll go to a couple practices and give them some of the ideas that I would have for this team, which I've done in the past. Similar thing.
So you're going to kind of be a consultant? Is that a fair way to say
back.
it? Consultant.
He's coming back.
The best job in the world, the consultant.
You can name it whatever you want, but I won't be worrying about who's going to play and who's going to shoot. And
fair enough.
I'm done doing that part. I'm past that. So I'm looking forward to it. I think they'll have a good team. I think Adam Weitzman has supported them to help them get a good team. And he likes to win, and the last time he did this, we won. So let's see if we can try to do something like that again. It'll be a good basketball team, be fun to watch in July up at OCC.
And do you? I know this is a long question, but you're gonna have to give me your short answer. Did you watch and did you enjoy the NBA playoffs? Can you give us maybe just a thought on the NBA playoffs now that it's done?
I love basketball, and I watch everything. I don't like people who say, well, we don't like to watch the pros. I mean, that means you don't root great basketball players.
Because it's the best.
They make things, what happens is they make things look so easy that sometimes fans just think, well, it's too, what Shea SGA does is amazing. He can get a shot against the best in the world anytime he wants, and that's amazing to see that. To see Ricky Carlisle, who I recruited in high school, went to my camp when he was 12 years old, to be one of the great coaches in the NBA.
Yeah.
And the way the Pacers played and fought, it was unbelievably great team basketball. They almost overcame the best team in the league. And if the kid doesn't get hurt, they might have. I don't think they would have won, but they might have won the game. And Oklahoma State's the best team in basketball, but he's in their organization. It's a great organization. In fact, he's probably going to play in the summer league this summer in July with Indiana. They've asked him to play it's a little better opportunity, but if it doesn't work out, he'll probably go back and play in the G League for Oklahoma City this year. So it's a great organization, but it's great basketball. I love to watch. It's unfortunate that Tatum. It's really amazing when a team fires a coach who's the most successful coach they've had in 30 years, who's one of the best coaches in the NBA, and gets fired because he doesn't play enough guys. I would have gotten fired after 5 years at Syracuse. I never would have gotten to 40. I never would have gotten to 40. I played 8 guys. I mean, good coaches play the guys they play that can win the game for them. Jay Wright, Mike Krzyzewski played 7, 8 guys. That's what you do to win. And then they talk about Jalen Brunson. Well, they need to change how they play. Too much one-on-one. That's the way he plays.
Yeah, that's his strength.
That's his game. That's his game. You take that away from Jay. He did it at Villanova.
Yeah.
He did it for national championships. I mean, you fire a coach and then you don't even have a coach. I thought the Knicks made a huge mistake of the year when they didn't get Hartenstein back, who, by the way, just won the championship in Oklahoma City.
Yeah. And
they gave 5 draft picks up for a forward that they already had 2 really good forwards.
Right, I know. They've made a couple of bad decisions, I know.
And then the Randall move I thought was good. I think that Towns is better, but to give up Dante DiVincenzo, your best shooter, I don't think that was a good move.
I didn't love that either. Yeah, you're with me. You're with me on all this Knicks stuff.
They could have given Randall and 3 draft picks and got Towns.
Yeah, good point. Hey, give me a thought. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, give me a thought on. No, we could talk basketball all day, and I would love to do it. Give me a thought on Cyan Anthony coming here. I mean, is it a full circle moment for you? Go ahead.
He's a really good freshman player. He's not like his father, not as strong. Carmelo was strong. That's why he was so good. The problem in today's game is this: every team in the ACC, every team in the country has 4 or 5 seniors, 5th year or 4th year seniors who are now playing. When Carmelo came in, he played against freshmen, and he's different. He can't even compare to Carmelo. But when other freshmen came in, Tyler Ennis came in, he went against freshman point guards.
Right.
He went against sophomore point guards. Cyan's going to go against seniors every day in practice, and he's going to go against seniors in every game he plays, except who has the best young players.
Right.
You know, they have top 5 players, but everybody else has seniors and, you know, experienced physical players. There's no doubt in my mind Kenya's going to be a great player, but to come in as a freshman, it's much harder now.
So you got to give him time
than it ever has been, and I think he needs some time. I thought Adrian Autry went out and got what they needed to do. They got an experienced point guard who I think is as good as anybody in the league last year. And now JJ can be comfortable at the 2 most of the time. He could play some 1 still, and he should, because that would be good for his development. They get a healthy Donnie Freeman back, and they get guys that are athletic, seniors. They've got a center who is more athletic than anybody I've seen in a long time, and who can play man-to-man, who can help switch, play the pick and roll, which we couldn't do. So they went out and got the guys they needed, and I just think they're going to be a pretty solid, really good basketball team. But, you know, everybody else in the league went out and got similar type players. So the league will be better. We'll get more than 4 teams in the tournament, and I think we'll have 6 or 7 good teams this year. And I certainly think we're going to be one of them, and it'll be fun to watch. But the whole thing in college basketball now, that we're spending, like they talk about the $20 million. The SEC schools are spending $30 to $35 million right now.
Wow.
On football and basketball. That's the reality. Everybody should be aware of that. You should be aware of that.
Yeah, the flip of the switch in the SEC was very, very obvious last year. I totally agree with you. Yeah.
They're spending $35 million, 20 and 10 and 15 on basketball, 20, 25, probably more than that. But and that's how you're winning. You're going to get the best players. You can't blame players. They're going to go where the most money is. And
right, the advantage, right, Coach, over the years was always geographically, because so many more of the players come from the Northeast and other corridors, and yet they're getting them because of the money. You know,
and even then, back then, there might have been some rules, some money here and there, but it wasn't this kind of money. You know, if people were paying players 30 years ago, it wasn't this kind of money.
Not that kind of crazy.
And for the most part, the Big East, ACC, that wasn't happening. It was there's a myth that every athlete got paid. That's not nonsense.
Hey, Coach.
I was in school with Dave Bing's best player ever played here. Some guy gave him a pair of shoes that didn't fit him. That was it. You know.
That's it.
Coach, I understand you still have a role on the Hill. Are you involved at all in any of the recruiting, helping getting anybody over here to the Orange?
I talk to recruits. I talk to the coaches, all coaches. Talked to Coach Brown, Fran Brown a lot. Great guy, great man. I think he's an amazing coach, but he doesn't have the money they have in the other schools, so that's always going to be a problem. But I do fundraising and stuff up there. Yeah, I'm up every day.
Up there every day? Very good. And then lastly, I'll just end it with something fun here. Are you playing any golf these days? And what's it like living in Skaneateles? And are you bumping into Bud in any of the corner stores?
It's pretty out there, and my kids like it, and that's why I got it. And I go out there a little bit. But I play 9 holes at 7 o'clock at night, so I never hit a bad shot.
Of course you don't. Of course you don't.
I'm the only one out there.
Love it.
Nobody, there's no witness. So I can play 9. But, the problem with retirement, when you get older and you get the chance to play golf a lot, you can't play anymore. So
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, you're not as flexible. So you don't hit it as far. It's not as much fun.
I played as much as I could when I was young. I just fit it in wherever I could.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the pretty smart things I did. I figured I get old, I'm going to hit it 200 yards, and I'm not going to be able to hit it on some par 4s without hitting a 3-wood. I don't like that.
Well, I'll give you a little send-off here to end it. My good buddy Frank Byer, who played on one of your original golf teams when you were coaching the golf team at Syracuse, says hello. You could say hello to Frank on the way out.
Yeah, Frank's a good good guy. He was a good golfer. We had fun playing golf. We just went out and played. Never told anybody whether we won or lost. They thought I called in the score, so I just called them in when we won. So they thought we were undefeated. Every year.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Coach, I don't want to take any more of your time, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This is a special week for us, and I'm so glad that you could be a part of it with us. Thank you very much.
It's no problem. I appreciate it. You did a good job for many years, and it's just unfortunate that most people that call up are, coaches, fresh coaches.
Think they're coaches and they're not coaches. That's really what it is, right? Thank you, Coach.
It's not that. I'll close with this. It's really just not that easy to coach. I got to tell you.
Yeah, just like refereeing. It's not easy to referee either, right? We could say that about both those jobs, right? It's not.
No,
we don't want to rip them.
I always say about referees, we had the best referees in the Big East, and we did. But I also said they really weren't very good.
Fair enough. Thank you, Coach. Great to talk to you. Take care of yourself.
All right, guys. Bye.
All right, there he is. Coach Jim Boeheim giving us some love here in the final week of the Manchild Show with Boyd Green. All right, we are way overdue for a break, but had to do that. And I do apologize, folks, for some of the squawkiness in the phone. We
tried
to do our best.
But,
who knows? Maybe he's in some basement, cave or something.
Yeah, he said his house is not very good with.
He just doesn't get very good reception.
So.
Some of us have that problem. But it was worth it. I know we got a little squawky, but I think we got most of it in there, and I was glad that we could get him.